Ever felt like you're giving more than you're getting, constantly bending over backward, only to realize you're being taken advantage of? Exploitation can be subtle, often disguised as friendship, love, or even professional mentorship. It's not always about grand betrayals, but those quiet moments where you feel drained, unappreciated, or manipulated. The Stoics, masters of self-awareness and personal boundaries, developed timeless strategies to spot and stop exploitation before it takes root. Today, we'll dive into 4 Stoic secrets that will help you recognize when someone is overstepping and empower you to reclaim your worth. If you've ever found yourself asking, "Am I being used?" hit that subscribe button. Let's uncover how Stoic wisdom can help you set boundaries, protect your energy, and stand strong against those who try to take more than they give. 1. Recognize the signs of imbalance in relationships. Marcus Aurelius believed that healthy relationships are founded on mutual respect, reciprocity, and a sense of balance. When these elements are absent, exploitation can quietly take root, often without you even realizing it. The first step to stopping exploitation is recognizing the signs of imbalance in your relationships. Exploiters are often skilled at masking their true intentions behind a facade of charm, gratitude, or emotional connection. They may frequently lean on your generosity, constantly ask for favors, or expect your time, energy, and support, while offering little to nothing in return. These imbalances are subtle at first. A request here, a favor there, but over time they accumulate, leaving you feeling drained, used, and unappreciated. Marcus Aurelius would argue that this exploitation is not just a matter of misaligned expectations, but a fundamental disregard for the principles of fairness and mutual respect that underpin all authentic connections. Recognizing these signs starts with paying attention to the dynamics of your relationships. Ask yourself, are you always the one who reaches out, makes the effort, or picks up the pieces when things go wrong? Do you find that you're constantly adjusting your schedule, bending your boundaries, or compromising your needs to accommodate someone else? These are red flags that suggest an unhealthy imbalance. Marcus would advise taking a step back and evaluating the give and take within your relationships. True connections should leave you feeling valued and supported, not exhausted and depleted. When you notice that the flow of effort and care is consistently one-sided, it's a clear sign that exploitation is at play. The Stoics believed in the importance of maintaining personal integrity and self-respect, and allowing yourself to be taken advantage of not only undermines these principles, but also diminishes your sense of self-worth. Exploiters often rely on subtle forms of manipulation to keep the imbalance hidden. They may use guilt, flattery, or emotional appeals to make you feel obligated to meet their needs. For instance, they might remind you of times when you promised to be there for them, or subtly suggest that their happiness hinges on your actions. These tactics are designed to pull on your heartstrings and keep you engaged, even when you're uncomfortable or overextended. Marcus Aurelius would encourage you to see through these manipulations by staying grounded in your own values and boundaries. He believed that maintaining inner clarity and purpose is essential to resisting external pressures. When you are clear about your own needs and limits, it becomes much harder for someone to exploit your kindness or generosity. You can recognize when a request is reasonable and when it's a thinly veiled attempt to take advantage of your good nature. Furthermore, Marcus Aurelius would remind us that recognizing exploitation isn't about keeping score, but about honoring the natural balance that should exist in any relationship. It's about acknowledging that your time, energy, and resources are valuable and should not be squandered on those who do not appreciate or reciprocate them. Exploiters often disregard this balance, operating from a place of entitlement rather than gratitude. They expect you to give endlessly without considering the toll it takes on you. By recognizing this pattern, you can begin to set the necessary boundaries to protect yourself. Marcus would argue that your worth is not determined by how much you do for others, but by the respect you command in your interactions. When someone repeatedly takes without giving, it's a clear violation of this respect, and a sign that the relationship needs to be reevaluated. Finally, recognizing the signs of imbalance allows you to reclaim your power. Marcus Aurelius believed in the importance of acting according to reason and virtue, which includes protecting your own well-being. When you identify exploitation, you are faced with a choice. Continue allowing the imbalance or take steps to restore fairness and respect. This might mean setting firmer boundaries, voicing your concerns, or even distancing yourself from those who refuse to change their behavior. Marcus would advise that these actions are not acts of selfishness, but of self-preservation. You have a duty to yourself to maintain relationships that honor your dignity and value. By recognizing and addressing exploitation, you uphold the STOIC principle of living in accordance with nature, where relationships are harmonious, respectful, and balanced. In doing so, you not only protect yourself from further exploitation, but also set the standard for how you expect to be treated in all areas of your life. 2. Set clear boundaries and enforce them with confidence. Setting clear boundaries is one of the most powerful ways to stop exploitation in its tracks, and it's a strategy that Marcus Aurelius would advocate for without hesitation. Boundaries are not just lines drawn in the sand. They are declarations of self-respect, defining what you will and will not tolerate in your interactions. Exploiters often target individuals who struggle to set boundaries, as they see these people as easy targets who can be persuaded, guilt-tripped, or manipulated into overextending themselves. Marcus understood that personal boundaries are essential to maintaining your peace of mind and protecting your time and energy. He would argue that setting boundaries is not about pushing others away, but about preserving the balance and respect in your relationships. Boundaries create a framework within which healthy, reciprocal interactions can thrive, and they keep exploitation at bay by clearly defining what is acceptable and what is not. Enforcing boundaries begins with understanding your own needs and limits. It requires honest self-reflection and a commitment to valuing your well-being as much as you value the well-being of others. Marcus Aurelius often wrote about the importance of knowing oneself, and this self-awareness extends to recognizing when you are feeling overwhelmed, taken for granted, or disrespected. These feelings are often the first signals that your boundaries are being crossed. For example, if you find yourself consistently doing favors that inconvenience you, or saying yes when you want to say no, it's a sign that your boundaries need reinforcement. Marcus would counsel that respecting yourself enough to say no when necessary is not an act of selfishness, but an act of self-preservation. You have a duty to protect your energy, and boundaries are the tools that empower you to do so. Exploiters often test boundaries gradually, pushing just a little further each time to see how much they can get away with. They may start with small requests and escalate them over time, banking on your reluctance to push back. Marcus Aurelius would advise that the key to maintaining your boundaries is consistency. If you allow someone to overstep once, it sets a precedent that your boundaries are negotiable. This is why it's crucial to enforce your limits with confidence and clarity. When someone crosses a line, address it immediately and assertively. You don't need to be confrontational. A simple, firm statement about what you are and aren't willing to do can often suffice. Marcus believed in the power of calm, reasoned communication, and he would argue that maintaining your boundaries is less about the words you use and more about the conviction behind them. It's about standing firm in your principles and not allowing others to dictate your actions or take advantage of your kindness. Moreover, enforcing boundaries requires you to overcome the fear of disappointing others. Exploiters often prey on your desire to be liked, helpful, or seen as a team player. They use guilt or emotional manipulation to make you feel bad for prioritizing your own needs. Marcus Aurelius would remind you that your value is not determined by how much you can give to others, especially to those who don't respect your limits. He believed that living a virtuous life means acting in accordance with your values, not bending to the will of others. Saying no does not make you a bad person. It makes you a person who respects themselves enough to ensure that their boundaries are honored. Marcus would argue that the opinions of those who only value you for what they can take from you are not worth compromising your well-being. Finally, Marcus Aurelius would encourage you to view boundaries not as barriers, but as bridges to healthier, more respectful relationships. When you set and enforce boundaries, you communicate your needs clearly, allowing others to understand what you expect and how they can engage with you in a way that is mutually beneficial. This clarity prevents exploitation by removing any ambiguity about where you stand. Those who genuinely respect you will appreciate and honor your boundaries, while those who seek to exploit you will be discouraged by your firmness. Marcus would argue that this discernment is key to surrounding yourself with people who truly value you for who you are, not just for what you can provide. By setting clear boundaries and enforcing them confidently, you reclaim your power, protect your energy, and create space for the kind of balanced, reciprocal relationships that reflect your worth. Trust your instincts and listen to your inner signals. Marcus Aurelius often emphasized the importance of trusting one's own instincts as a guide through the complexities of life, including the subtle forms of exploitation that can go unnoticed. Your instincts are your first line of defense against being taken advantage of. They are the quiet, intuitive signals that tell you when something is not quite right, even before you can articulate why. Exploiters often operate in gray areas, using charm, guilt, or persuasive language to cloud your judgment and make you question your own perceptions. They rely on your willingness to ignore or second-guess your instincts, knowing that once you do, they can push further into taking more than they should. Marcus would argue that your intuition is a powerful tool, a built-in alarm system that, when listened to, can alert you to subtle manipulations and guide you toward making choices that protect your boundaries and your sense of self. Trusting your instincts starts with acknowledging that your feelings of discomfort, hesitation, or unease are valid, even if you can't immediately pinpoint the reason behind them. Marcus Aurelius would encourage you to pause and reflect whenever you feel these inner signals. Instead of dismissing them as irrational or overreactive, treat them as important data points that deserve your attention. For instance, if you consistently feel drained after interacting with someone, or if a particular request makes you feel uneasy, these are signs that your boundaries may be at risk. Marcus often wrote about the importance of self-awareness and introspection, urging us to examine our thoughts and emotions as part of understanding our true selves. By listening to your instincts, you engage in this reflective practice, allowing your subconscious mind to bring to light what your conscious mind might be missing. Exploiters are skilled at masking their true intentions, often presenting their demands in ways that seem reasonable or even caring. They might frame their needs as urgent, appeal to your sense of duty, or position themselves as victims in need of your help. These tactics are designed to bypass your logical defenses and appeal directly to your emotions. Marcus Aurelius would argue that when your instincts raise a red flag, it's often because your mind has picked up on subtle inconsistencies, body language, or repeated patterns of behavior that don't align with the other person's words. By staying attuned to these internal signals, you can cut through the facade and see the truth of the situation. Marcus would advise that instincts are not irrational impulses, but rather a form of inner wisdom honed by experience and observation. They are a reflection of your deep understanding of human nature and your own boundaries, even if that understanding operates below the level of conscious thought. Moreover, Listening to your instincts empowers you to act decisively in the face of exploitation. Marcus Aurelius believed that courage was not just the ability to face external challenges, but also the strength to honor one's inner truth, even when it goes against external pressures. When your instincts tell you that something feels wrong, it's crucial to act on that feeling, whether that means saying no, setting a boundary, or questioning someone's motives. Marcus would argue that taking action based on your instincts is not about being confrontational. It's about protecting your integrity and refusing to allow yourself to be exploited. This might involve having difficult conversations, asserting your needs, or distancing yourself from those who repeatedly take advantage of your kindness. By trusting your instincts, you reclaim your power and reinforce your right to be treated with respect. Additionally, Marcus Aurelius would encourage you to reflect on past experiences where your instincts proved correct, even when you initially ignored them. These reflections are not meant to induce regret, but to strengthen your confidence in your own judgment. By acknowledging the times when you overlooked your gut feelings and faced negative outcomes, you can better appreciate the value of trusting yourself moving forward. Marcus believed that wisdom is often gained through mistakes, and that by learning from these experiences, you can cultivate a sharper, more reliable intuition. This process of learning to trust your instincts is a journey of self-discovery and self-respect, aligning you more closely with your values and guiding you toward healthier, more balanced relationships. Ultimately, Marcus Aurelius would advocate for trusting your instincts as an essential defense against exploitation. Your intuition is a deeply personal and uniquely tailored tool, designed to protect you in a world where not everyone has your best interests at heart. By listening to your inner signals and allowing them to guide your actions, you guard against manipulation and ensure that your choices reflect your true needs and desires. Marcus believed that your instincts are not just fleeting feelings but profound insights into the dynamics around you. By trusting them, you stand firm in your self-worth and create a life where exploitation finds no foothold. Reclaim your power by taking responsibility for your choices. One of the core principles Marcus Aurelius emphasized throughout his writings was the importance of taking full responsibility for your actions and decisions. This approach is particularly powerful when dealing with exploitation, as it shifts the focus from what others are doing to you to what you can do about it. Exploiters thrive when they make you feel powerless, when they convince you that your choices are limited or that you are trapped in a cycle of giving without receiving. Marcus believed that the key to breaking free from exploitation is to reclaim your power by taking full ownership of your choices. This doesn't mean blaming yourself for someone else's behavior, but rather recognizing that you have the agency to set boundaries, say no, and change the dynamics of any relationship. Taking responsibility means acknowledging your role in allowing exploitation to continue and deciding, from this moment forward, to make choices that prioritize your well-being. Marcus Aurelius often wrote about the power of the mind to shape our reality. He believed that while we cannot always control external events or the actions of others, we can always control how we respond. This Stoic mindset is crucial when dealing with those who take advantage of you. Instead of fixating on how unfair or draining someone's behavior is, Marcus would encourage you to focus on what you can control: your boundaries, your reactions, and your decisions. When you take responsibility for your choices, you stop being a passive participant in the dynamic and start actively steering it in a direction that serves you. If you've been saying yes out of guilt or fear, you can start practicing the art of saying no. If you've been bending over backward to please others, you can choose to step back and reassess what you truly want from the relationship. Marcus would argue that every decision, no matter how small, is an opportunity to reclaim your power and assert your autonomy. Taking responsibility also involves letting go of the victim mindset that exploiters often encourage. It's easy to fall into the trap of feeling helpless or blaming others entirely for your circumstances. especially when someone has taken advantage of your kindness or generosity. However, Marcus Aurelius would remind you that clinging to this mindset only keeps you stuck. The Stoic approach is to recognize that while you may not have chosen to be exploited, you can choose how to respond to it. This doesn't mean excusing the behavior of those who take advantage of you. It means deciding not to let their actions dictate your sense of self-worth or your future choices. By taking responsibility for your role in the dynamic, whether that's through setting new boundaries, voicing your concerns, or even ending the relationship, you reclaim control over your life and your happiness. Marcus Aurelius also believed that taking responsibility is a continuous practice of self-reflection and growth. It's about regularly checking in with yourself to ensure that your actions align with your values and that your boundaries are being respected. This ongoing process allows you to course-correct when needed, ensuring that you remain in control of your interactions and are not slipping back into old patterns of exploitation. Marcus would argue that responsibility is not a burden, but a powerful tool for self-liberation. By owning your choices, you affirm your right to prioritize your needs and to build relationships that reflect mutual respect and balance. This sense of personal accountability not only protects you from further exploitation, but also strengthens your resolve to live authentically, guided by your own principles, rather than by the demands of others. Finally, Marcus Aurelius would advocate for taking responsibility as an act of self-respect. When you hold yourself accountable, you set the tone for how others should treat you. You demonstrate that you value yourself enough to enforce your boundaries, and that you will not tolerate being used or undervalued. Taking responsibility doesn't mean that you won't encounter exploiters. It means that when you do, you will be prepared to handle the situation with confidence, clarity, and a firm sense of your own worth. Marcus believed that the path to personal freedom begins with the simple but profound act of owning your decisions. By reclaiming your power, you ensure that you are no longer a passive player in someone else's game, but the active author of your own story. In doing so, you create a life where exploitation has no place, and where your choices are a true reflection of your inner strength and integrity. As we bring this journey to a close, let's circle back to where we began, questioning whether someone is taking advantage of you and how you can stand up for yourself. Remember the quiet moments when you felt drained, used, or manipulated. Now you have the tools to recognize those red flags and reclaim your power. You've learned to set boundaries, trust your instincts, and see through the subtle tactics of those who would exploit your kindness. You are no longer standing on shaky ground, uncertain and unsure. You are standing firm, fully aware of your worth and the respect you deserve. The power to change your interactions and protect your energy is now firmly in your hands. But the question is, what will you do with this knowledge? Will you let it slip away, or will you take decisive action today, however small, to stop the cycle of exploitation? Don't just close this video and move on. Let this be your first step toward asserting your boundaries, voicing your needs, and living a life free from manipulation. As you reflect on these lessons, consider this. How many times have you ignored your inner voice, compromised your boundaries, or allowed others to take advantage of your good nature? Now that you have the insight to recognize exploitation, the real question is, are you willing to do what it takes to stop it? Remember, the greatest freedom lies not in controlling others, but in mastering your own responses. Just like the sculptor who carves away at a block of stone to reveal the masterpiece within, you now have the chisel to shape your relationships and protect your integrity. The warrior's journey never truly ends. It evolves, and now it's your turn to take control of your path. Imagine a future where you are surrounded by relationships that honor and respect you, where your time and energy are invested in those who genuinely care. This future is within reach, but it starts with the choices you make today. The future isn't just something that happens, it's something you create with every boundary you set, every instinct you trust, and every moment of self-respect. What kind of future will you build with the power of your decisions? This may be the end of our discussion today, but the journey of self-mastery is just beginning. Keep questioning, keep asserting, and keep striving to maintain the balance that protects your well-being. You've taken the first steps on a path that never truly ends. Continue to walk it with courage, clarity, and confidence. Before you go, take a moment to reflect on what you've learned. How will you apply these lessons to your own life? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your experience might inspire someone else to stand up for themselves too. And if these insights resonated with you, hit the like button and subscribe for more wisdom on navigating life's challenges with strength and integrity. The real question is, are you ready to take back control and live on your terms?